Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United 2, Everton 2. That concludes the US tour, and the big question has to be, what did we learn and what is your feeling 2 weeks out from the start of the Premier League season? We've played 4 pre-season games now. Do you feel we're playing good football? Do you feel you understand what the system is? And do you feel that we're starting to get close to building a starting 11 that can take us anywhere near the top 6 in the Premier League next season? I think there are more questions than answers after the game tonight. I think there has been high points. I thought Bournemouth on Thursday was good. You could argue that we look tired today after a very intense 3 games in a week. But also, Ruben Amorim said himself before the game that he wanted to try out new things. And I said, and some of you agreed with me and some of you disagreed with me, it felt like we were looking to run before we can walk. This is a team that doesn't understand his system and doesn't play good football. And we're trying out new things, which I would class as plan B and C, when we haven't really learnt plan A. So, look, Cunha today learnt what Ronaldo, Martial, Rashford, Cavani, Rasmus learnt. You can play up front for Man United and be the invisible man. I mean, he was just wasted. Absolutely wasted. Now, Cunha to me, when I think about Cunha, and predominantly I'm talking about a Wolves player because he's not been at United long enough, Cunha to me is a guy that gets the ball on the centre circle and moves with acceleration in towards the penalty box. He is absolutely that player. And if we bought Cunha to play him as a striker, I wish we'd left him at Wolves. I know he can play as a striker. I know he can do a job as a striker. I know he's done it for Brazil. But the player I saw at Wolves is the player I want at Man United. This player that can get the ball, dribble with the ball, make things happen. He was wasted today up front. It didn't work. I don't want to see that again. And Burmo, great to see 45 minutes of him, and his passing's good. The transitions were good. But across the game, Everton probably played the better football and certainly did deserve the draw. So I think when I look at the team today, the biggest problem I have is the midfield. And lots of people are talking about Agate, but you could similarly say Bruno was as bad. Like, Bruno had a bad game. I don't care what anybody says. We can protect him. We can't, whatever you want to do. And maybe Mainu didn't have a good game as well. And is Casemiro really the solution? And Collier's not even getting a look in. So our midfield options are terrifying when you think about it. Like, you've got Agate, Mainu, Collier, Casemiro, Bruno, and we can talk about goalkeepers, we can talk about strikers, and they are essential, and we'll talk about whether we're ready for the season or not. But when I look at Manchester United and I look at the season where Ten Hag finished 8th, that midfield didn't exist. And when I look at last season where we finished 15th, that midfield didn't exist. You need a good midfield in the Premier League. Newcastle have got a good midfield. Villa have got a good midfield. Brighton have got a good midfield. We do not have a good midfield. And it doesn't matter how good your defence is or how good your attack is. If you don't have a good midfield, you're going to struggle. Games are won and lost in the midfield. The oldest cliche in the book. We don't have a midfield. I don't know what our midfield is for Arsenal. Is it going to be Bruno and Casemiro again? I mean, we've got a real problem in midfield, and lots of people keep saying it. People talk about a striker and a goalkeeper. What we're going to do in the midfield? It's a valid point. Like, we've got a huge problem. Is it that 2 doesn't work? Do they get overrun? Is it that the 2 we've got aren't good enough? I think if you're going to play a midfield 2, you've got to have 2 absolute beasts. Discipline, intensity, aggression, and ball players. And we haven't got 2. We haven't got 1 disciplined, intense, aggressive, ball-playing midfielder. And we need 2 in that midfield too, and we haven't got 1. So I'm very worried about the midfield. And I'm not going to be negative and say we're going to have a bad season, and I'm not going to be negative and say Amorim's going to be sacked by Christmas or anything stupid like that. What I am going to say is I'm very worried about the midfield. You could also say, what's our front 3 going to be? Who's our 2 number 10s going to be? Who's our wing backs going to be? Who's our 3 centre-backs going to be? I mean, you could almost look through the whole team and go, I'm uncertain on who the goalkeeper is, who the back 3 is, who the wing-backs are, who the midfield 2 are, who the number 10s are, who the striker's going to be. I mean, you could literally look at the whole team 2 weeks out from Arsenal and go, I don't actually know much about that team apart from the fact that Bruno will play every game and Cunha will probably play a lot and Mbeumo will play a lot and Ahmad will play a lot. But where they'll play, I don't know. But look, fundamentally, let's not overwhelm ourselves with questions that will become answered in the next few weeks. The big thing nobody can reassure me about at the moment is that midfield is in any way ready for a Premier League season. I don't even know what it is. And I certainly think that, look, if we talk about Agate first, it was a bad game, but I like Agate. I thought he played well against Bournemouth. So it was a bad game. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think he's a player that we need to get rid of. It was a bad game. That can happen. Mainu, I don't know where he fits in. You know, he gets taken off and you see another opportunity disappear. And I know he's about to sign a new contract and I know he will sign that contract and I know the club want him to sign it. But I keep asking the question about Mainu, where's he going to play? Like, where is he actually going to get minutes in a Man United side that struggles? Casemiro, I mean, he's just a formerly great player who, as we know, is sort of running on empty. Collier won't get a look in. And as I said, I mean, Bruno was as bad as Agate for me today, apart from the fact he scored a penalty and he got a good assist. I mean, what he did to Ndia was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's a good job Everton went and scored because that was disgusting. Like, he loses the ball and then he kicks a player that, you know, he's about 3 meters away from the ball. That was disgusting what he did. Bang out of order. If Roy Keane did that, people would be going mad. It was really petulant and it was really stupid and it would have been a red card in the Premier League. So Bruno had a bad game as well. But look, without individualising it, Agate was bad. Bruno was bad. Mainu, I don't think was that bad, but some people do. The big problem is I can't find one midfielder that I'm confident in at the moment, and I need to find two. And what I will say is Bruno as an 8 is going to be a problem. He's got no discipline at all, as he showed again today. And I'm not talking about the indiscipline of kicking somebody. I mean, he never gets sent off. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the positional discipline. That's not him. He's a number 10 being asked to become a midfielder at 30. So that is a big problem as well. But look, all in all, I hope what we've taken from this tour is that we're tired, that we're together, that we are fitter, happier and more productive. And I hope that that's what we're going to take out of it. And look, maybe we fly back from Atlanta today. We have a couple of days rest. We hit Fiorentina next Saturday. And then we have a whole week before we play Arsenal. And then that opening game in front of 75,000 people. We're energised, we're buzzing, and everything goes right. And we start the season well. Because that can happen. But I've got to say, it was a bit of a reality check to be, at times, played off the park by Everton, who I don't think are going to have a very good season themselves. And let's not forget, we've played Everton, Bournemouth and West Ham. All three of these will be in the bottom half of the Prem. So we've not even come up against a team that's decent really yet. So I think it is a reality check. There's a lot more work to do. But the overarching thing for me is that it's not negative. I think the midfield, you'd be a fool not to be worried about our midfield. Everything else, maybe it takes care of itself. We've certainly got loads of number 10s. Mason Mount scored a good goal and I don't even know how we'll get in the team. We've got loads of good centre-backs. Hopefully we'll get a goalkeeper. Hopefully we're going to get a striker. But the midfield is a problem. And we all need to acknowledge that and we know that. But the biggest issue is the issue we had before the tour, and we have it at the end of the tour. Yet again, here is another US tour or Asia tour or whatever you want to call it, where we haven't bought anyone. And it's starting to become a running theme now. When we go on tour, we stop doing business. And here we go again. We've gone on tour and we've done nothing. No sales, no purchases. It's just every year now, we should basically write off the last 2 weeks of July because nothing's happened. And at the start of the tour, many of us said we're not ready for the start of the season. We're not going to be ready for the start of the season because we're not, even if we sign players, they're not going to be ready for the Arsenal game. And 2 signings and no sales 2 weeks out from the start of the season is pretty scary, really. We're just not prepared for this season. So we're going to have to hope that we can beat Arsenal, beat Fulham, beat Burnley, get to the international break, have the players in, and by the time we come back from that international break, we are ready. Because we're not ready. We're gambling here. And we can do it. I believe we can beat Arsenal. I don't think we're favourites, but I think we can. I'd certainly say that we can beat Burnley at home, and Fulham away, you never know what you're going to get. It could be 9 points, it could be 6, it could be 4, it could be 3. But we are gambling a little bit because I think we haven't got the business done quick enough again. There's too many players that haven't been sold, and there's not enough players that have been brought through the door. And, you know, these are important positions. And look, the best example is that if Sesko signs for Man United, and I really hope he does, if he does sign for Man United and he ends up being Man United's striker, imagine what it would have been like if we'd signed him 3 weeks ago and he'd been on this tour learning to play with the team. Imagine what that would have felt like. Who was your man of the match, Mark? Oh, God. I mean, look, that's an example of the game, really, isn't it? Who was my man of the match? I thought De Ligt was steady. I thought Yoro was steady in the first half. I thought Dorgo was steady in the second half. I thought Mbeumo in the first half showed bits. Ahmad had a good first 20 minutes. Mount scored a good goal. It's difficult. It's really difficult. I'd say across the 90 minutes, I don't know. I mean, maybe give it to Mason Mount for the goal. I'm not giving it to bloody Bruno. Tyler says Bruno, Dalot and Agate worst on the pitch there. Look, the worrying thing about Dalot is, and I don't want to individualise it because it's, you know, we don't do the player ratings till the season starts, but the thing about Dalot is down the left-hand side he offered nothing, and then he goes to the right-hand side and offers nothing. And the problem with Dalot is that going forward he just doesn't offer enough, and you have to offer something in a wing-back system. You've got, like, who plays five at the back and has a defensive fullback? Like, I think we're more prepared than last season, says Brody. I hope so. I hope you're right. I can get on board with that. I hope you're right, yeah. 2 centre midfielders needs to be close to each other in this system, says JB. Do you think we have the most overdramatic fans in all of football, says James? I think I'd need a bit of clarity on that. It's 3 a.m. here. Stayed up to watch how Mbeumo and Cunha work, and I have to work early in the morning. It's safe to say our midfield easily gets run over, says Yazzo. Kamsim says we just need to sell some players. It baffles me that we still have not sold one single player and still cannot comprehend how some of those players can still play for Man United after last year. We need a DM and a goalkeeper, says Kamsim. Kettle is on. Tough game, says Mrs. Goldbridge. Have we seen the Avi? Bloody hell. And Mbeumo looks quality, Mark, says Shakin. Had a bet for us to finish top 6. Had to cash out, says Emin. Every team we play targets Agate. Huge weakness, says Matthew. I'm marrying my beautiful fiance on the 22nd of November. Yahoo, says Matthew. Congratulations, mate. Do you seriously think we will get Sesko? And if you could get a midfielder, who would it be within realism? Love the content, Mark's been watching for 3 years, says Ryan. If you want somebody realistic and cheap, then Douglas Luiz would be of interest. If you want somebody that, you know, I think we would like to go for that would suit the system, I actually think Yulmlin at Sporting Lisbon would be more suitable than Belieber, but I don't think we've got the money for those sort of players. Do you seriously think we'll get Sesko, Ryan? Yes, I do. At this moment in time, I do. I can't comprehend or understand how we'd go public and then not get him. Not selling Bruno for 100 million is madness, says James. We need a proper player up front. Patrick Bamford, Vardy or Carlton Morris, says Batty. If we buy Sesko, will Mbeumo, Cunha and Bruno start, says Rags Riches. Yeah, Bruno's going to play in the midfield, mate. Agate shouldn't be anywhere near the starting 11, says Manor. And we need a goalkeeper, a striker and a midfielder. Anything less is failure. Our weaknesses are clear and we were lucky not to lose today. Time to act, says John United. League Cup second round is week commencing the 24th of August, says Nick. So we will play 4 games before the international break then. Any inside info and Kone getting no minutes all tour? Don't think Casemiro should be playing at Alpha. I've only just thought about that. I've seen a lot of people mentioning it on the watch-alongs, and I have got to say it is very, very disappointing that Kone didn't get any minutes on the tour. I would say that. This is a player that apparently we're going to keep and not loan out, and then we haven't used him 1 minute on the tour. So I think it is a bit disappointing. I don't know what the justification for that. I'm sure there is one, but yeah, now you come to mention it, was quite disappointing. Who was the best player this pre-season in your opinion, Mark? Across the 3 games, Dorgu. I think Dorgu's been the standout player. Other players have done well, but I think Dorgu. G7 Smith. Bruno is simultaneously our best and worst player, says Ruben. Welcome to the world of Bruno Fernandes. He's our best player, and at times he has bad games. I wouldn't say at times he's our worst player, and I think that's a stretch. But he's certainly our best player who can have bad games. Glad we drew the game, but we learned nothing from the starting lineup, says AKA. A goalkeeper is needed ASAP, and no more Ahmad as right wing back, says Desiree. Look, Ahmad as a 10 in the second half didn't really get in the game. Ahmad in the first 25 minutes as a right wing back looked amazing. The problem is that when you play on the right wing back position, if the ball doesn't go to that side, you're not in the game. And that's sort of what happened in the last 15 minutes of the first half. So he was in and out of the game, isn't he? I think we're more prepared than last season, says Brody. Thank you very much for that. Look, it's midnight in the UK. It's been a long evening. I don't profess to spend ages digesting a pre-season game. We've done 20 minutes. I think we've covered it. And look, I'm not going to overreact. I think there's a lot to take away from this. I certainly think not taking people like Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho, the togetherness of the squad is far better. You can see that. The fitness of the team is definitely better. They're leaner. We know that. There has been some positives. But the 2 things that stand out to me are we're not prepared for the start of the season because we haven't done business quick enough, in or out. And secondly, the midfield, which has been a problem, and the reason teams over the last 2 Premier League seasons have beaten us so often, and the reason teams like Bournemouth and Crystal Palace have been able to beat us, is because the midfield is a weakness that those teams can exploit. That midfield is still a weakness. That is going to be a very, very big problem, and we haven't solved it. And the scary thing is, we've always said about the midfield, we need to sell to buy. And whilst I understand that, that doesn't change the fact that the midfield is weak. And if you're saying we need to sell to buy, fine. You've not sold anybody, so you're not going to improve it. But it's weak. We need a striker, we need a goalkeeper, and we need a midfielder. We need 3 positions. It's not about what 2 to go for. We definitely need a striker. We definitely need a goalkeeper. And it's very obvious we need a midfielder. But if I had to get one at the moment, I'm almost going, well, I don't think you can separate. I don't think we can do without any of them. If we don't get a goalkeeper, that's going to cost us. If we don't get a striker, that's going to cost us. And if we don't get a midfielder, that midfield at the moment looks really dodgy. So it's not about, I think we should go for a midfielder instead of a striker or a goalkeeper. I think we need all 3. I think we're going to be, I think we're leaving ourselves really open if we don't get one of those positions. Thank you very much. Hector says, Agate deserves some grace. The pitch was crap. I think it was a bad day for Agate, but I still think he's a good player. You know, Hayden Hackney would be a steal, says Andy, and yet no Premier League club is looking at him. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Look, Bruno had a bad game today. He'll be playing every other game. So, you know, everyone can have a bad game. The point is, regardless of bad games or not, I'm worried about that midfield. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Back at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And who knows, tomorrow could be Monday Madness. We're expecting a Sesko decision. tomorrow. Let's see what happens. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Please do subscribe to the channel on your way out. Thanks for joining me tonight. Fantastic community. And thank you to the US for hosting us again. It's been, really enjoyable tour to cover. Beth's done a great job out there with Ryan and everyone out who's been out there and interacting with us and watching the watch-alongs. Really enjoyed it, but we're 2 weeks away from proper work now. One more pre-season game to go. Let's get some transfers in. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.